The Second World War was a global conflict of unprecedented scale and destruction. It was a war that touched nearly every corner of the globe, involving more than 100 million people from over 30 countries. The sheer magnitude of the conflict was unlike anything the world had ever seen before. It raged from 1939 to 1945, engulfing nations across the globe. The war began with the invasion of Poland by Germany, which led Britain and France to declare war on Germany. Over the next 6 years, the conflict would spread to Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Pacific, drawing in countries from every continent. The war pitted two main factions against each other. These factions were not just military alliances, but represented different ideologies and visions for the future of the world. On one side stood the Axis powers led by Germany, Italy, and Japan. These nations sought to expand their empires and reshape the world order according to their own ambitions. Germany, under Adolf Hitler, aimed to establish a dominant Aryan race and reclaim territories lost after World War I. Italy, led by Benito Mussolini, sought to revive the Roman Empire, while Japan aimed to dominate Asia and the Pacific. They sought to expand their empires and reshape the world order. Their aggressive expansionist policies led to the occupation of numerous countries and the subjugation of millions of people. On the other side were the Allies. This diverse coalition was united by a common goal: to stop the Axis powers and restore peace and stability to the world. This alliance included Great Britain, the United States, the Soviet Union, and many others. Each of these nations brought their own strengths and resources to the fight. Great Britain, under Winston Churchill, stood as a bastion of resistance against Nazi aggression. The United States, led by Franklin D. Roosevelt, provided crucial industrial and military support. The Soviet Union, under Joseph Stalin, bore the brunt of the fighting on the Eastern Front. They fought to resist aggression and defend freedom. The Allies' determination and cooperation were key to their eventual victory. The Second World War was a clash of ideologies and ambitions. It was not just a battle for territory, but a struggle between different visions of how the world should be organized. It was a fight for survival against tyranny and oppression. The Axis powers sought to impose their will through brutal force, while the Allies fought to preserve democratic values and human rights. Millions of soldiers and civilians lost their lives in this devastating conflict. The human cost was staggering, with entire generations affected by the loss and trauma of war. Entire cities were reduced to rubble. The destruction was widespread, with many historic landmarks and cultural treasures lost forever. The war left an indelible mark on human history, shaping the world we live in today. The geopolitical landscape was forever altered, leading to the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers and the beginning of the Cold War. It is vital to remember this conflict and learn from its horrors. The lessons of World War II continue to resonate, reminding us of the dangers of unchecked aggression and the importance of standing up against tyranny. We must strive to understand the causes of this war. By studying the political, economic, and social factors that led to the conflict, we can better understand how to prevent similar events in the future. We should work to prevent such tragedies from happening again. This requires vigilance, education, and a commitment to peace and justice. The Second World War serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace. It shows how quickly the world can descend into chaos and violence if we are not careful. It highlights the importance of international cooperation and understanding. Only by working together can we hope to build a more peaceful and just world for future generations. The seeds of the Second World War were sown in the aftermath of the First World War. The world was left in ruins, and the devastation was felt across continents. The war had ended, but the scars it left behind were deep and lasting. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the First World War. This treaty was meant to bring peace and stability, but it also laid the groundwork for future conflicts. The terms of the treaty were harsh and punitive, especially towards Germany. However, it also created conditions that contributed to the outbreak of another global conflict. The treaty's harsh terms sowed the seeds of resentment and anger, particularly in Germany, where the population felt humiliated and betrayed. The treaty imposed harsh penalties on Germany. These penalties included significant territorial losses, military restrictions, and economic reparations that were nearly impossible to meet. It blamed Germany for the war and demanded heavy reparations. The financial burden placed on Germany was enormous, leading to economic instability and hardship for its citizens. These penalties crippled the German economy and fueled resentment among its population. The economic crisis led to hyperinflation, unemployment, and widespread poverty, creating a fertile ground for radical ideologies to flourish. This resentment created fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root. The German people, desperate for change and stability, began to support radical political movements that promised to restore their nation's former glory. The rise of totalitarian regimes in Germany, Italy, and Japan further escalated global tensions. These regimes, driven by aggressive nationalism and expansionist ambitions, sought to reshape the world order in their favor. In Germany, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party rose to power by exploiting economic hardship and national pride. Hitler's charismatic leadership and promises of economic recovery and national rejuvenation resonated with the disillusioned German populace. Hitler promoted a dangerous ideology of racial superiority and territorial expansion. He believed in the supremacy of the Aryan race and sought to create a vast empire that would dominate Europe and beyond. He rebuilt Germany's military strength in defiance of the Treaty of Versailles. This rearmament was a direct challenge to the post-World War I international order and signaled Germany's intentions to pursue an aggressive foreign policy. In Italy, Benito Mussolini established a fascist dictatorship, emphasizing nationalism and military might. Mussolini's regime sought to revive the glory of the Roman Empire and pursued an expansionist agenda in Africa and the Mediterranean. In Japan, militarists gained control of the government. These leaders, driven by a desire for resources and regional dominance, pursued a policy of aggressive expansion in Asia. They sought to expand Japan's empire in Asia. This expansionist policy led to the invasion of neighboring countries and increased tensions with Western powers. These aggressive regimes posed a growing threat to international peace and stability. The actions of Germany, Italy, and Japan undermined the fragile peace established after World War I and set the stage for a new and even more devastating conflict. They engaged in a series of provocative actions that ultimately led to the outbreak of war. These actions included the remilitarization of the Rhineland, the annexation of Austria, the invasion of Czechoslovakia, and the attack on Poland, which finally triggered the Second World War. The world watched with bated breath as tensions reached a boiling point, teetering on the edge of conflict. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. Hitler's forces unleashed a Blitzkrieg, a lightning-fast military tactic that combined tanks, aircraft, and infantry in a coordinated assault. Poland, caught off guard and outmatched, was quickly overrun by the relentless German advance. 2 days later, Great Britain and France declared war on Germany, honoring their commitment to defend Poland's sovereignty. However, they were unable to prevent the swift and devastating collapse of Polish resistance. The early stages of the war were marked by a series of stunning German victories, shocking the world. German forces conquered Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France in quick succession. Hitler's Blitzkrieg tactics proved remarkably effective and devastating. They exploited speed, surprise, and overwhelming force to break through enemy lines with precision. The fall of France in June 1940 sent shockwaves across the globe, altering the course of history. It left Great Britain standing alone against the might of Nazi Germany, a daunting challenge. The world held its breath as the Battle of Britain commenced, a pivotal moment in the war. The fate of Europe, and perhaps the world, hung in the balance during these critical times. As the war raged in Europe, the continent was engulfed in a conflict that would reshape its future. Cities were reduced to rubble, and millions of lives were irrevocably changed. The devastation was not confined to Europe alone. It soon expanded to encompass vast regions of the globe. Japan, seeking to establish dominance in Asia and the Pacific, embarked on a campaign of conquest. Their ambitions were clear: to create a vast empire that would secure their place as a major world power. This ambition led to a bold and devastating move. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a pivotal moment in history. It propelled the United States into the war, transforming the conflict into a truly global struggle. The shockwaves of this event were felt around the world, as nations realized the full scale of the conflict they were now part of. With the United States' entry, the lines were clearly drawn between the two main warring factions, the Axis powers and the Allied powers. The Axis powers, led by Germany, Italy, and Japan, were united in their quest for expansion and control. Their military strategies were aggressive, and their goals were ambitious. In response, the Allied powers, including Great Britain, the United States, the Soviet Union, and many others, formed a coalition to counter the Axis threat. This alliance was built on a shared commitment to oppose Axis aggression and defend freedom. The unity among the Allies was a testament to the power of international cooperation in the face of a common enemy. The war raged on multiple fronts, spanning Europe, Asia, Africa, and the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Each theater of war presented its own unique challenges and horrors. In Europe, the battles were fierce and unrelenting. German forces occupied much of the continent, imposing their rule with an iron fist. The Soviet Union bore the brunt of the Nazi war machine on the Eastern Front, enduring immense suffering and loss. The resilience of the Soviet people in the face of such adversity was remarkable. In Asia, Japan's military expansion continued, threatening Allied positions in China, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands. The battles in this region were brutal, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The global nature of the conflict highlighted the interconnectedness of the world. It demonstrated the far-reaching consequences of aggression and the importance of international cooperation in the face of tyranny. The war was not just a series of isolated events, but a complex web of actions and reactions that spanned the globe. Civilians around the world were deeply affected by the war. Families were torn apart, economies were disrupted, and the social fabric of many nations was forever altered. The human cost of the war was staggering, with millions of lives lost and countless others changed forever. The lessons learned from this global conflict continue to resonate today, reminding us of the importance of peace, unity, and the need to stand against tyranny in all its forms. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon for more fascinating content. Stay tuned for our next episode.